Teachers ever fell in love with a student, what happened? He didn't do anything until after I graduated. He was the school cop, and taught law enforcement class. He was almost my dad's age. And he was married. He was super hot. And I would have gone wild with him if I hadn't had wife. This was in the 70s. My partner's aunt started teaching high school right out of college at age 21. In her first year working she fell in love with a senior. In the end they flirted and hung out after school. And when he turned 18 they started dating. Now they're married and have been for more than 40 years. They think it's an adorable story, and they tell it to everyone. I, having been a teacher, feel sorry for others every time I hear it. I had a teacher who ended up going out with a student days after graduation. I don't think he's still a teacher. I also had an education student who invited me to a party when I was in high school. That was a great self-esteem boost for me. I am a teacher, and there are some seniors who are cute. However, if you ever feel really attracted to any of them, a great way to get over it is to talk to them for a few minutes. It happened to me the other way around. The student was very much in love with me. She arranged her classes, free time, and extra projects, so that we are always in the same area or room. No matter how beautiful she was, I was always careful and professional in my approaches to her. I always kept her 2 meters away and didn't pay her any more attention than other students. She was persistent, but instead of embarrassing her in front of all her classmates, I took the long way around, knocking her down while maintaining proper impartiality. Despite her gestures and open expressions, eventually it worked. It was exhausting for me, but it was satisfying to know that it didn't cause her to be the target of gossip, rude speculation. I would not say that I had a crush, but there are definitely girls who are very attractive. I have touched many girls and even boys who seemed to have a crush on me, but nothing ever happened, because I would not cross that line. Once a girl came to me and said, "I'm going to talk to you at the end of the year," and then she bit her lip in a very suggestive way. I didn't even know who the hell that girl was. There was another girl that I adored who came to see me on the last day, as I was leaving school. But she wasn't dressed according to school rules at all. She was wearing a very skimpy tank top, and the other smaller ones I've ever seen. It was definitely not approved school clothes. But since it was the last day, they didn't tell her nothing. She kept hugging me goodbye and staying by my side, and I have to admit, if I was turning on a little bit, she even followed me to my car to say goodbye. And there was even this awkward moment where she stopped. She seemed to be just waiting for me to kiss her something. Once in the cafeteria, after I just started teaching, I saw this beautiful teacher wearing a very tight summer dress, taking care of the line. She looked wonderful, so I had to go talk to. She introduced me, and we started talking. We flirted a little as we talked, and things seemed to be going well, because she took my arm. When I made a joke, we parted ways after a while, and she went to sit at one of the tables with the students. I remember I thought it was great to eat with his students. I was standing guarding the tables, and once in a while I turned to see the attractive teacher, and we exchanged glances and smiles. At that moment I knew I had to find out which was her room to go to later, and talk more. That I was in the middle of a talk with one of my students, and I asked them what that lady in the dress teaches, and in which room does a student do it. I don't know. At that moment I realized that she was a student, and even worse, that I had been flirting with a student during lunch. Mortified, I left the cafeteria and went to my classroom. The next day I was also in charge of the cafeteria, but I couldn't go from how embarrassed I was. Good try, FBI. When I graduated from high school, my English teacher approached me. Basically, he said that he and his wife had an open relationship, and that if I would be interested in dating him. He had already discussed it with his wife, and she agreed, and everything was very weird, and I basically liked it. He still sends me super long emails from time to time. He wasn't inviting me to a threesome by saying he had an open relationship. I mean, his wife could see other men, and he could see other women, but those relationships never came together. Also, I would never have done that. Hear the full story. When she was in the first year, my mom ran away from a toxic relationship. She basically took what she could fit in the car and moved us. Here is the full story. When I was a freshman, my mom ran away from a toxic relationship. She basically took what she could fit in the car, and we moved to the next state, I had to drop out of school in the middle of the year, so it was a tough transition for me. I didn't fit in very well with the people at my new school, so I mostly hung out with the teachers at lunchtime. It was a very small school, and most of the teachers were passionate about their work and had a lot of stakes in the students, so it was not uncommon for there to be a closeness between students and teachers. I ended up being very close with the English teacher for the next 2 years. But I always felt like we kept everything professional. After I graduated, I met with him to say goodbye before I went to school. College was a weird and confusing conversation, where he basically told me that he didn't want us to end, and that he would like us to continue seeing each other after graduation. He talked about it like, or if it was an enriching experience for both of us. He and his wife had plans to quit their jobs and go out of the country for a few years, so I think he wanted our relationship to be a summer fling or something. He told me that he and his wife had an open relationship because he traveled the world a lot and they met some very interesting people. As to whether I ever considered it, I was undecided. For a while he lived an avant-garde bohemian life, and I wondered if I was missing out on some enriching life. As I said before, I didn't know how to react, so when I liked it he started sending me all kinds of emails. At first he was very understanding and said he would wait and let me process it. Then he started being passive-aggressive and sending things like, "Tell me when your therapist says that it's okay to see each other." Finally he sent me a very long poem that he wrote for me. After that I blocked it, and the last I knew is that he already left the country. Is the weirdest thing that ever happened to me. A friend of mine is a high school teacher. When he started he was only 3 or 4 years older than the seniors. He said it was awkward to think of a student as attractive, because now he was the teacher. He also told me he often got gifts and letters from student love. In my first year of high school, I was like a year older than the others in my class, and we had a teacher fresh out of college who had just turned 21. It was very strange to have a teacher who was so close in age to us students. They constantly bullied him, either openly or through writing on assignments. This reminds me of an English teacher I had in high school. She was super attractive. I wanted to be funny, and in my writing task, "You are good" in the smallest possible letters you could only read if you used a magnifying glass. Now that I remember, it makes me sad. I never knew if she read it. I am a teacher, and I have been teaching for less than 10 years. I have had 2 students that, although I cannot say that I have had a crush on them, if I was attracted to them, both were in my first years teaching. The attraction towards them came completely out of nowhere. It was like a blow that came to me out of the blue. They were both very tall, intelligent, somewhat clumsy, and red-headed with curly hair. I like that one of them tried something with me during graduation. 6 years ago he followed me to my classroom during the ceremony when I went to change my shoes, but I firmly and kindly rejected him and got out of there. Nothing naughty ever happened and never will, because my career is very important to me. I knew that boy is now a policeman. I can't say I've never fantasized about him. An attractive boy in uniform. Be merciful. Honestly, I have been a university teacher since I was 25 years old. All my students are adults, most of them between 18 and 22, and sometimes older. I am single. Crushes and attractions happen from time to time. Nothing has ever happened, because I am absolutely committed, at the beginning, of never taking advantage of myself, of my position. Whether they are people from 18 to 45 years old, they continue to be under my administration and care, and I have a responsibility and duty that I will not break. However, I have had a small relationship with a student who did not have any subjects with me, nor did we meet at the university. We met at a party of some mutual friends. It was a coincidence that she was a student at the school where I teach. I did not see any conflict of interest, and I did not break any rule. Morally speaking, I do not think I did anything wrong.